vampires really do exist.
Sorry, kid. Guys look thirsty. You want a beer?
Yeah, I'll take a beer, please.
Welcome to Riders on the Storm. You've just watched a short trailer for the new movie, The BEAUMONTS, written, directed, produced by local filmmaker Jamie Sharps. It will be premiering, the world premiere, at the Flying Monkey, Tuesday night, April 3rd. Thanks for coming in. We're going to talk about the BEAUMONTS, and we're going to talk about some of the other movies that you've done, and just the main focus of this show is about writing, but it's all going to connect to what you do after you write the script. So the BEAUMONTS is your new movie, and at least according to IMDb, it's your fourth feature-length film that you've written and directed. Is that about right?
Yeah, I think it's like number 4 or 5. I kind of lost count over the years.
So the last one definitely was Zombie Boy, and a lot of people are familiar with that one because that had a big show at the Flying Monkey.
Yeah,
huge
that was
crowd.
That was a big hit.
And
that was a good one.
So you tend to do horror movies.
Yeah.
So Zombie Boy was a zombie movie. The BEAUMONTS is a vampire movie. There was a Bigfoot movie, the documentary, The Bigfoot Diaries, and before that, Tucker's Crossing, which is creepy uncle puts a kid in a cage and messes it up. So cage instead of room, so it's
correct.
I guess that's my first question is how do you decide, so it's going to be horror of some type, but you tend to shift around. So how do you decide subgenre if it's I haven't done a zombie movie yet, so I'll do that, and then what's left, I'll do a vampire movie, or is it just you get inspired by something?
Yeah, some of the times I'll get inspired by something, or I've been thinking about it for a number of years, and I just want to go for it and start shooting it, start writing it, and sometimes it's not a good idea because the hot thing at the moment might be a ghost movie, and it's sometimes if I would talk to a distribution company, they would say you should really do a ghost movie, and I'm kind of stubborn, and no, I want to do the zombie movie instead, and I end up not making any money, but I don't care.
Okay. Well, the danger then too is if there are too many zombie movies, and then there are zombie TV shows, and then
Walking Dead.
Right.
Yeah.
And then for a while, vampire movies and TV shows were pretty hot, and so you don't want to be part of the flood.
Exactly. That's what happened with Zombie Boy. I loved it, but there was an oversaturation of too many zombie movies coming out all at once. And so I think with the BEAUMONTS, the vampire, hopefully there's a good chance that there'll be a much bigger exposure and getting it out there more compared to Zombie Boy. But that was really good in the beginning, but hopefully I'll have more luck with that genre.
Yeah. And the other interesting thing I think about vampire movies for me is a few years ago, Jim Jarmusch came out with one, Only Lovers Left Alive, which is totally different from every other vampire movie because it's a Jim Jarmusch movie and it's basically a love story. And so that it's almost like it cleared the slate, and it's like anything goes. So we're ready for a new type of vampire movie. And then I guess the other thing about coming up with an idea, I was just thinking about something Guillermo del Toro, the director, was saying in an interview about The Shape of Water. He had seen Creature from the Black Lagoon when he was little, like 7 or 8 years old.
Yes.
And he thought about that, and he had an idea of what he wanted to do with it for decades, and then he finally put it together. So is there any...
It's a good example.
I mean, you've seen a lot of horror movies.
Yeah, that with the BEAUMONTS, I think probably the big inspiration was probably a lot of the 80s vampire movies, like Fright Night and Lost Boys. And so I've been sitting on it for years too. Like I would really love to shoot a vampire movie, and have it kind of 80s, you know, with like synthesizers and using the old rotary telephones. One twist in my film is the vampires can walk during the day. I decided to incorporate that in my movie because it made for easier filming.
But it takes place around New Hampshire.
Yes.
And so the air is clean, so
Yep.
it's okay for vampires to go out if it's a rural area.
Right. Like, well, the whole thing with like vampires burning in the daylight, that all started out with that German film from the 1920s, Nosferatu. That's how it kind of all started. You know, the German filmmaker. You know, that's why everybody was, you know, all the vampires burn. And I'm like, well, so Dracula, he could walk during the day. Bram Stoker's vampire could do that. So I'm like, well, my vampires can too.
Did you have to call attention to that during the movie? Or like, is that brought up at all, that like we're worried about walking out in the sunlight?
No, I pretty much let everybody, you know, the audience know that in the beginning of the movie. So I just was able to get away with it, and I told my actors, like, all right, no one's going to burn out. You guys can walk during the day. They're not as strong during the day, though. They're kind of weak, but they're at night. That's when they're at their strongest. But during the day, they can actually go out and do stuff.
All right, unless it snows a foot of snow.
It takes place in the summer, thank God.
Right, but we might get snow in a few months.
Right.
All right, I want to talk about the very beginning. So you decided, did you have, I want to start off just doing a vampire movie, or did you have characters in mind? Did you have a situation?
That idea. Man, God, in the very beginning, I just came up with the idea because, you know, with zombies, you got to put the contacts in their eyes, and you got to get a lot of makeup.
Okay.
Vampires, it was a little easier. I lost my makeup artist. She moved down to down south somewhere, so I lost her. And so I was thinking, what, you know, movie can I make with there's very little makeup? Vampires.
Okay.
You get the vampire teeth, you know, stick them in there, and the contacts and everything. And then I kind of came up with that idea, and I was thinking, I love action. I like, you know, getting the audience excited about the movie. I don't like shooting dramas. I think they're kind of boring. I want to shoot something that's got like a lot of energy and, you know, great action scenes. So I came up with this crazy vampire movie idea. And I probably sat on it for about a year. It probably took me about a year writing it.
Okay.
Wintertime is when I usually write.
So you knew it was going to be a vampire movie, and you knew it was going to be action, and like Zombie Boy, it was pretty dark humor.
Yeah, I like to have a little, you know, comedy in there, twisted with the action and the splat blood and gore and all that stuff.
A little bit like Evil Dead kind of dark comedy.
Yeah. Yep.
So then, how do you start writing? I mean, do you start with kind of an outline? Do you start with just kind of like a story treatment, or you just like go right into like a script?
I usually start writing down, I'll grab like a notebook and I'll just write down 5 ideas like about characters. And I'll write them down, and I'll center around the characters first. And then I'll start, you know, centering around the story. And I always go by act 1, 2, and 3. And then once I have that all, I make the exoskeleton of the writing, and I was able to really get good at that when I started working with Ernest Thompson, because, you know, I shot 2 films with him, and he would give me his script. So I would I would read it, and then, you know, after reading his scripts, I was like, oh, so this is how, you know, it's done. This is how, you know, it looks. So I would, you know, after we would shoot his stuff, I would start writing my own material. And then it would just get bigger and bigger, and after about a year, start getting the actors and just start shooting it. So
you do the camera work for a couple of Ernest Thompson's movies. Are you sort of a cinematographer?
You're right. Pretty much like, I'm kind of like, you know, Robert Rodriguez, kind of like a one-man army. Because you have to do it on your own, or else it's never going to get done. So I had to do it all. I had to write it.
For Ernest Thompson's?
Oh, for Ernest, it was a much bigger crew of people. That was,
Was there a cinematographer, or was that pretty much you?
That was me.
Okay. Well, that's cool.
But I had some assistant cameramen that were helping, which was great. That was a huge help. And it was like people that were, you know, there was so many more people involved. There was costume designers, so it made for the load much easier for me. With this movie, sometimes I'm like, guys, what are we doing? You read the script. Script supervisor, the actors would have to do all the, they would have to look at the script and say it to the actor, because the actor usually didn't know what he was going to say until that day. My stuff it's pretty experimental kind of stuff.
And are you able to use any of the the crew members from Ernest Thompson's movies?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I stole so many people from his his army of crew. And they're fantastic, just wonderful people that anybody around the area, because not very many people shoot movies around here. So if they hear about movie, they're on it. They'll call me up and they'll say, I'd like to get involved, and can I come over and try out for this one character?
And you have to check out to see how good of a screamer or how good, their death scene is.
Yes.
All right.
Exactly.
So you come up with this idea. You got your characters. You have an idea for 3-act story arc.
Yep.
When you start to write, do you show your script to anybody before it's finished to get feedback?
Yeah, usually I'll show my friend Matt Cheney or somebody like that, or I'll show my girlfriend Leah, and she'll, we'll say, well, this is terrible, this is good. So I'll just,
So a couple of people that will give you good, honest feedback.
Yeah, it's a long process, because usually what I write, the day we start shooting it, it's completely different.
Okay, that was actually the next thing I was going to get into.
Yeah. Happens every time.
So you have a script, and the actors have seen the script, but how much ad-libbing goes on once you actually start the scene?
There's a lot of ad-libbing. I mean, it depends on, there's certain scenes that I need to get into the movie so that the movie makes sense.
Right.
So sometimes I'll frown upon ad-libbing, and then other times I'm like, you guys do something completely different. I don't like what I wrote here, and they'll do something. So sometimes we'll have 4 different scenes, and then I'll go, I'll pick the one that I like the best, as we're editing. And
you work with a lot of the same actors.
Yes, I really like a lot of my, Al Gilman. He's been working with me ever since 2004. It's funny how time flies. It's crazy. But I end up working. There's 2 or 3 or 4 actors that I always go to, kind of like my go-to guy.
Okay.
Like John Carpenter has Kurt Russell.
Right.
Sam Raimi has Bruce Campbell.
Yeah.
Kind of like that kind of style. I love that.
And that may help the actor too, if they know how you work. So are certain actors more likely to try to ad-lib more and just ask you, can I play around with the lines a little bit? I don't know if this this sounds right for my character. Can I try something else? That sort of thing.
Oh, absolutely, all the time. I'll give Al as an example. He'll be talking in a low voice, and I'll say, raise your voice a little higher, and he'll try something completely different. And another good actress, Sherry Lee, she was really good in the film, and she was trying all kinds of different stuff. And of course, Matt was a huge, standout. And also James Pereira, he was probably the one that ad-libbed the most. The villain, the vampire. He would do crazy stuff, kind of like a Robin Williams kind of a actor. So you never know what he's going to say off the top of his head, but usually most of the time it worked.
So that sometimes that could end up being dangerous, though. Like with Nicolas Cage, supposedly when he tried to work with the Coen brothers, he wouldn't say anything.
Oh, like Raising Arizona, probably? Yeah.
And they don't like to work that way. They want to just read what's on the script, and Nick Cage just doesn't work that way. But so in a few minutes, we're going to watch a longer clip, an extended clip, just so that people can get a pretty good idea of the kind of movie that this is. And again, it's April 3rd is the premiere at the Flying Monkey. So this is probably the biggest production that you've done so far. That seems like
absolutely.
Starting off with Tucker's Crossing, that was pretty small as far as the number of actors, as far as I guess, the number of locations as far as the amount of blood.
Yeah.
You know, it's the number of dead bodies. So is this like a kind of a buildup of resources, and you're just like, the more that you direct, the more that you come up with ideas, you have a bigger...
It gets bigger and bigger every production, every movie time, you know. I just, you know, my ideas get bigger and bigger, and the actors, and I just want to really thrill the audience. So, and as you know, as you progress as a filmmaker, you start getting bigger locations, and you realize how important that is in a movie. You know, I would hate to have a film take place in one place, because it seems kind of like stale. So I like to get out there and have like 7 or 8 different, you know, shooting locations, and really, you know, just make the movie as good as you can possibly get it, you know. And
how does that come into play when you're actually writing the script? Like,
yeah,
I know the people I have pretty much that I'm going to work with. I know like places where I've shot before that worked, and I can shoot there again.
Absolutely, yeah. There's a lot of dream scenes that I shoot in this movie.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I really wanted them to be really like strange. Like there was this one place in Tamworth, this huge giant granite rock in a cemetery. It's like the Pound in Tamworth, or maybe it's in Madison. But it was just a great place to shoot, and I just happened to be driving by.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I was like, there, that's where we're going to shoot, right there. That's the place. Look at that.
Scouting locations without knowing that?
Yeah. And I was like, that's the place where we're going to shoot this big scene. And then there was another time where there was this dried up pond, and there was all this this green algae that accumulated. And I decided to stick my actors right in the middle of the pond for this dream scene, and it ended up working out really good. It was amazing to look at.
And did you have to use a filter or do any kind of like special effects to have it look like a dream, to like cue it up that this isn't real, that this is a dream?
We used a drone, so we were like right above, you know, the actors' heads, and we zoomed way down, and the algae was so green. We didn't have to use any filters at all. It just looked like that.
So it looks
naturally.
less real.
Yeah. It was amazing. I might have used one little effect in the Final Cut Pro process. I think I did use something, but it came out great.
Okay, so this might be a good time for us to cut in and show the longer clip. And so, again, this is going to be April 3rd, Tuesday night at the Flying Monkey. The movie starts at the screening starts at 7.
Doors open at 6.
Doors open at 6, and as
film starts at 7.
With Zombie Boy, it was a really big crowd at the Flying Monkey. So chances are this one will be big too. So I'm really sell out.
Extremely excited about it. You know, I'm hoping to like fill, you know, every seat's like 400 people that you can fit in there. Zombie Boy made it to 300. So,
and you're going to be there, and most of the cast will be there.
Everybody will be there, you know, so I'm really excited about that, to see all the actors. Clover the dog will be there. We had a dog in the movie.
A vampire dog?
Yeah.
Okay.
They always say don't work with kids or dogs, but I always, you know, break the rules, and we had to have the dog in the scene.
All right. Well, let's show a longer clip from the BEAUMONTS.
Probably want to know what's going on, huh?
Sure.
Goddamn vampires. Family of them.
Gross. Humans.
Come join us, Joe.
And where are we supposed to feed?
Massachusetts, your father said it 100 times.
Hungry, Joe.
Whoa! Oh, shut up, you big baby. It's not the first time you've been hit with an arrow.
God! I just wanted to get laid.
Sorry, kid.
Come to me, Joe.
I need a weapon. You gonna hook me up or what? That's it? That's all I get.
Take it back.
As fresh as you can get it.
We gotta go. Thanks for the help, George.
See you later, boys. Happy hunting, Kimosabe.